Hi, in this video, I'm going to talk to you about getting residency in Italy. And the big question that everybody asks me, can I be resident but not be fiscal tax resident in the country? The main thing that you need to remember is that once you become a resident in Italy, you are defined as fiscally tax resident under three different criteria. Those criteria are: number one, you are spending more than 183 days in the country each year. Number two is that you are registered on the anagrafe. And number three is that you have your social, business, family, first house interests here in Italy as well. The main question that I get asked all the time is, if I spend more than 183 days out of the country, but also register as resident in the country, will I be considered fiscal tax resident? Simple answer is that you would be considered tax resident in Italy, even if you spent 183 days outside the country each calendar year. The reason is that those criteria which I gave you before are independent of one another. So you only need to fall into the category of one of those to be considered tax resident, not all three necessarily. If by mere chance that you have registered at the anagrafe and signed in front of a public official to say that you want to be resident in Italy, then I'm afraid that you will be considered tax resident merely on the basis of that point alone. I hear from a lot of people that the 183-day rule would apply to them because they're applying the logic of the double taxation treaty tiebreaker clause, which does actually state that if one tax authority deems you taxable in one country and Italy would also deem you taxable, then they would look at the number of days that you spent in one or other of the countries to define your actual fiscal tax residency. Whilst this is true, it is not automatic. And so you have to make an application to the tax authorities to determine whether the tie-break clause would apply to you. Given the length of time that would take and also the difficulties of dealing with tax authorities, it's one to avoid, I would suggest. And equally, if you have actually signed on at the anagrafe as being resident and received your certificate of residence, then it's highly unlikely that Italy would deem you to be non-tax resident, even if you spent 183 days out of the country each year. But let's not be despondent. There is one little known fact which you can use to your financial planning advantage. That is, if you enter into Italy and register as resident in the second half of the year, then you will not be considered fiscally tax resident in Italy for the full calendar year. How does that work? Well, by definition, you can't have been in the country for more than 183 days in that calendar year, and therefore you won't be considered fiscal tax resident. This little known fact can be a huge advantage in planning your transition to come and live in Italy. So make sure that you plan before, during, and after, because your best financial planning transition years are going to be the ones that you do in the time that you move. Don't leave it too late. Move to Italy and then think you can try and resolve everything later. By that time, you've probably missed out the best opportunities. So if you're thinking of planning a move to Italy, then please do get in touch. We can help you to plan the transition in the most tax efficient and tax effective ways possible. You can contact me on my contact details at the end of this video, and we can talk to you about what's going to be the best way for you to come and live in Italy in the best way possible. And using one of my favorite sayings, if you fail to prepare, you're preparing to fail. Don't make your dream move to Italy a complete disaster because you haven't taken into consideration your financial planning needs before you've done it. Get in touch and we can help you to make that transition to your dream life in Italy as easily and as seamlessly as possible. Good luck.